was actually leaked documents from EA around FIFA 21 and predominantly around their FIFA Ultimate Team game mode, which is realistically a bit of a gambling loot box mechanic that's in that game and completely puts me off that game. So FIFA games, obviously, paid $70 games now, but the FIFA Ultimate Team component of the FIFA games is still where they make their bread and butter. And so during the week, there was actually amazing reporting from CBC. So that's a Canadian news network who leaked and actually published a couple of pages of these documents. So these are internal documents. By the way, very, very well branded internal documents. I was pretty impressed with how they go about things internally at
nice
EA.
Fonts. Nice fonts.
Very professional. Very professional.
We like a good slide deck font. Clearly, in
I know.
this podcast.
No, we do. It's good when they're in brand.
I'll bring it up on the screen now. But yeah, like I was actually impressed. I was like, wow, this is just like a general marketing sort of internal thing, man. These guys are on top of their shit and obviously making billions. So I actually want to hand to you, Swinny, to go through this because I don't want to color the take on this too much.
Yeah, so basically the documents essentially are, at the time when they were leaked, there wasn't much context really, although if you actually read some of like the notes below and the notes on the side of the slides, it becomes clear, but not everyone's going to pay attention to that. They pay attention to headlines, which is essentially that all roads lead to FIFA Ultimate Team, and the fact that, shock horror, EA is wanting to drive people from their main modes to FIFA Ultimate Team and funnel players to that. And funnel is obviously a very corporate term and a very marketing term. And the fact that players will be actively messaged and incentivized to convert throughout the summer. Now, that particular line is a thing that we'll cover in a second. And the other kind of key line that, and these spread across the two different slides, honestly, but the FIFA Ultimate Team is the cornerstone and we're doing everything we can to drive players there. So similar, the whole funneling thing. And this kind of blew up in a way that honestly surprised me because this is like the most obvious thing ever. It's like,
Okay.
Well, of course, this is where FIFA Ultimate Team's, EA are a business and they're one of the most businessy gaming businesses possible in terms of just the way they operate or in the way they, that they present themselves. So no shit that they're trying to drive people to the mode where people are spending microtransactions. Do I like it? No, I'm not going to touch these games ever because of that crap. But to act like it's some big news is like, wow, to me the news is more so in EA's response around it. So EA they responded, and there's also been there's an interview GamesIndustry.biz with their VP of brand as well about it. But essentially, they said that that they called it sensationalized reporting. So they're always looking for opportunities to introduce players to modes in our games, and our FIFA players are expecting fresh content that makes the service exciting. So it's a constant focus for us. And as part of the GamesIndustry.biz, interview, they clarify that a lot of that updated fresh content is what. That's where FIFA Ultimate Team, that's where they add the content essentially to that mode. But the big thing, and this is the thing that is the most absolute bullcrap, is that they insisted that they do not push people to spend in their games, which if Eurogamer has actually a really good write-up where they kind of break it down. It's super biased, but it still has some good call-outs. And they show us the current home screen of FIFA 21, and it's just all FIFA Ultimate Team.
It's ridiculous. Things. Like, it's fuck you, EA, seriously.
Yeah,
that's all I can say.
That statement is the most absolute fucking bullshit. But the main thing I wanted to call out before I guess get to you guys with your thoughts was if we've all worked on, no doubt, slide decks that are kind of, similar in many ways.
Of my week.
Yeah, exactly. And if you were to take random slides out of slide decks I've done without context,
it's bad.
It's like, of course. And what I take issue with was, I do think the reporting on this was bullshit initially because that whole incentivized to convert and is about, and you read it in the slides, it's not, incentivized to convert people to spending money in FIFA Ultimate Team. they are actually talking about converting people from FIFA 20 to 21. Like, that's actually what the focus of this slide deck is, because if you read the notes, FIFA 21 announced, cover reveal. On the sides, run up to FIFA 21. So now to ask the gaming, fandom and people out there to not take things out of context is impossible. I understand that, but I don't like the fact that this stuff is often presented out of context. But that line, we do not push people to spend our games, is the biggest load of shit. So that's, I don't know. Who wants to go first with their thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'll just jump in because it's probably a counterpoint to Mike's and yours. But yeah, look, I totally agree with that component. I feel that, and I'm probably more like centrist compared to you guys, but I do find a lot of games media, I don't know what's happening, but it's becoming very politically opinionated. And I feel like there's some kind of like idea in their minds where they need to be the arbiters to balance out the force. It's like the gaming companies are now the Sith and they're the Jedi, and they need to bring balance and order to the universe. And I really like Jason Schreier, but even during the week there was an article and I was like, dude, this is like so loaded. Like, he is, calling Cyberpunk 2077 a flop. Like, it's ridiculous. And I totally agree that the coverage of this is, you don't need to put sauce on this. It's like, it is what it is. And if that's shocking to some people, it's going to be shocking. But you don't need to manipulate it and try to add to it by, picking up things like incentivized to convert and then try to say that that is converting people to FIFA Ultimate Team, where in the exact same document, they say FIFA Ultimate Team is the cornerstone of everything we do, right? Like, you don't need to try to push the envelope too hard on framing it, which is correct, which is all they care about is trying to get more money off people. And I don't know, I know you guys hate this, but who cares? That's what they do. If you don't like it, don't get the game. I don't play FIFA. I would actually love to play FIFA if it didn't have this crap, right? But the reality is the amount of people like me who don't play this game because of the shitty loot boxes and monetization just completely outweighs the fact that there's a hell of a lot of people that will play it anyway. So it's not going to make more money by getting rid of it and then bringing back people like me.
Well, what you just said is exactly my thoughts. Like, it's not counter me. That's exactly my thoughts. Yeah. Everything there. So,
and look, like everything in here, I was like, like this. If I was a shareholder, I'd go, great, that's your job. This is what you're meant to do. We're not giving you money as a charity to make an indie game. It's like, this is a money-making beast.
God, if they saw internal documents I've worked on, and no doubt the same for you guys, people would be like, what the fuck? This company's out to make money, and they treat their customers as numbers on a spreadsheet. Yes, that's business. It sucks sometimes, but it's business. Suck. No, I said sometimes it sucks. Sure. But that is business. That's capitalism. It is what it is. That's how the world turns, for these for-profit businesses at least. So
absolutely. And I think the world isn't, it's not indie developers making games in garages anymore like it was back in the 80s and 90s and stuff. A lot of the time they're all businesses in the end now. Yes, there's huge creative elements, and gaming as an industry, I feel, is still different to some of the industries we work in.
Yes, definitely,
absolutely different. But unfortunately, in the end, it's a medium that is being used as a business by a hell of a lot of companies, and it's just the reality of it. They have KPIs, they have shareholders, they have profits.
On that point, Mike, it's like the mechanics of the industry are exactly the same as the mechanics of the industries we're in, but the people involved are completely different. And that's where
some of the people involved, I think, with something like
I think
FIFA,
the majority of like developers and things like that.
Yeah,
and just let me finish my point. Just let me. So, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, I do feel a little bit sad because there are people who are like very artistic, very creative. They use it as an outlet to express their creativity, and they're put into a situation that's very contrary to their sort of ideals of life. Whereas like people I work with are not idealistic in that way.
They don't give a shit,
right? And it's still a machine.
The last cent of your grandma's back if they can.
No, that's not fair. That's not true. But No, trust me, it's not true, right? But
Maybe in the industry Mike works in.
yeah, maybe the company Mike works at.
No,
But
it's an industry-wide. It's across multiple
no,
industries.
no.
It
Okay,
ultimately is. People don't care. They distance themselves off from the real things that happen to people. It's the same as this. They distance themselves away from the fact that, you know, there's people that get addicted to buying these things, and they literally waste every single cent that they have that, you know, needs to go towards, I don't know, caring for their child or something, or putting food on the table because they blow it on stuff like this.
Yeah.
And they don't give a shit about people like that in the end, do they?
And this is the thing. This is the thing that I've always said with all these things. I'm a huge believer in rules and people having to follow rules and writing simple and good rules. And simplistically, the rules in this space are ridiculous. Just the same as they are on Apple and Google. There's no way that people should be spending $10,000 on FIFA Ultimate Team. Sorry. Like, people can do that.
Yeah, but you believe in a free market. So
I do believe in a free market.
Exactly. So you also do believe that people should be allowed to spend 10,000 if they want.
Not necessarily. I never said that.
Okay. So where do you draw the line? Where would you put restrictions on what a person can and cannot do then?
I don't know. I think you need to really find mechanisms to develop that. But I can tell you it's pretty obvious that someone shouldn't be spending $10,000 on FIFA Ultimate Team.
But if they have, you know, $3 million in the bank account, and that's all they want to do all day because it's the way they chill, where do you draw the line?
No,
you know what I mean? Like, it's a tricky one. It's very hard to
disagree. I don't disagree. But there are people who are addicted. And look, the number one thing I don't like is where there isn't a mechanism to say, hey, I want to play this game, but I don't want to see loot boxes or stuff like that. Like, I'm a big believer. You should be able to say from a console default, don't show me any loot boxes or any crap like that. Because I would never let my kids play games like this until they're much, much older. Because it's super gambling.
That's the issue I have the most is games that kids can pick up that have this stuff. But honestly, if I'm worried about that, I'm more worried about the mobile space than FIFA when it comes to that stuff. So.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, you know, the one that I find the most egregious is Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, which launched with no loot boxes, then had a month later an update to add loot boxes into the core game. So even if you're a diligent parent, you've looked at the game, understood it, got it for your kids, and then a month later there's bloody loot boxes.
Sneak it in. Ooh.
Yeah, that's the stuff that I think rules can be put into place. So amazingly, it sounds like we're kind of all roughly on the same page on this one. I'm actually surprised about that.
We're all tainted by the corporate.
It's reality. All right, moving into the next segment. So I was going to have a jingle for this segment.